And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you our MC for today. Joey is a graduate of BS Geology from UP Diliman. He is currently the president of the Philippine Mining and Exploration Association, PMEA, immediate past president of Geological Society of the Philippines, GSP, and the past chair of the UP Geology Alumni Association. He is an accredited competent person for geology under the Philippine Mineral Reporting Code 2020. He is also an accredited external verifier for Towards Sustainable Mining, TSM, of the Chamber of Mines and a member of OSIM. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our MC, Mr. Joey Nelson Ayson.
Okay, good morning, or good lunch, and good noon, everyone. We're a bit full pack, no? So maybe, Joanne, you should get a bigger venue next time. So thank you for that kind introduction. I'm supposed to acknowledge the VIPs here, so those who were not acknowledged by Joanne, could you just raise your hand so that we can acknowledge the VIPs here in this room? Okay, anyway, to our esteemed guests from the government, the mining industry, and professional and non-government organizations, the Academe, Philippine Mining Club members, I would like to welcome you all to the 79th Philippine Mining Club Luncheon. I'm Joey Nelson Ayson, and I am your host for today's event, and welcome back to the Manila Polo Club. I think we did the first luncheon also here, that's about 2011, and I remember Mr. Moya of Vale was the first speaker for the Philippine Mining Luncheon. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Yaman PH. This is an organization of students for mining engineering, geology, metallurgy from Mapua, UP, Adamson. Where are you guys? Could you just stand up so that we can acknowledge you from Yaman? We will be asking, I will be issuing certificates of attendance to all the attendees, and you can request a copy from pmcadmins.info.philippineminingclub.com. And you can also ask your questions only during the Q&A. Okay, that's been dispensed with. Okay, let's now get our first speaker, and let me introduce our first speaker this afternoon. As Regional Sales Manager for ABB's mining business line in Southeast Asia, Mr. Dharamdev Rajwar leads sales efforts across Southeast Asia region, and with over 19 years experience of mining industry experience. He also possesses a deep understanding of sector complexities and opportunities. Holding a Bachelor of Technology with honors in electrical engineering from NIT Jamshedpur, India, his expertise spans mine electrification, automation, conveying systems, and underground mine automation. A frequent conference speaker, I think he was in Baguio for the Mine Safety Conference in November last year. He shared his insights on sustainable mining practices, automation technologies, and industry challenges at various events. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about ABB's driving transformation in Southeast Asia's mining sector, let's all welcome Mr. Dharamdev Rajwar.
Good morning once again. So today I'm just going to present a survey report what we have done around the world. That is called the mining moment, because what we see a great opportunity in the mining. So we have done an external survey. Till the slide is up, maybe I'll just talk a bit. Around 412 executives, mainly on the decision makers around the world. 18 countries we have covered. Some 12 in-depth interviews, some surveys, around 400 surveys we have done. Try to understand where, okay, the slide is up. Try to understand where exactly the sustainability perspective on the mining industry. Though it was initially started as an internal survey, and then we saw that it's actually quite relevant to talk in this forum. So we hired a external company to do the survey, and when they are doing the survey, the end user or the executives are not aware that it's ABB's survey, so it was a not biased feedback what we have received. Yeah. So what the thing came up, almost all mining industries or all mining companies are tremendous pressure to do on the sustainability perspective. Okay, so they have something urgent need to do on the 2030 kind of short-term some targets, and as well as the long-term survey here. So this is a crucial findings what we have find. So they have some urgent need to do, like on 2030, like 67%. So 67% companies are confident they can meet their short-term targets with respect to sustainability. 15% are very confident. 25% are confident. 66% the respondent, they said originally they have started maybe this sustainability journey 1 to 2 years. 15% are disclosing they are not actually achieving this goal. 30% are still behind the target. So the summary is the companies are putting some effort. So majority what we are seeing a great shift and investment with respect to sustainability. Yeah? And good news is actually the 53% of the transformation or the mining transformation with respect to sustainability, they are quite confident that within 5 years they are able to meet their 2030 target. I'm not sure how what is your means in Philippines, what is the expectation or how you are moving on that direction. Yeah? But globally, 53% respondent, they said they are able to meet by 2030. This is an overview why actually they are pushed to do on sustainability. Mainly the top of that on the safety, regulatory compliance, the ESG demand from the investors, the premium. Also they are looking for the premium pricing with respect to sustainability, the customer demand mitigation. On the soft side, the carbon capture pricing, various countries they have implemented some kind of carbon tax to get some benefit kind of things, the license to operate, the talent attraction, maybe I'll follow on the later slide. It's very difficult to retain talent globally on the mining industry compared to the other industry. The corporate net zero target. So these are basically the major summary of the feedback what we have received for driving the sustainability in the mining. So when we are talking about what are the challenges the mining industries are facing. So major 3 things came up. One is the capital investment. So some solutions are there, something need to be invest. So huge capital investment, that is the major barrier. Second is inadequate infrastructure, definitely the mindset as well, and also the volatility, the commodity price volatility. Yeah. Sorry. So making sustainability is actually doing, the progress is quite significant. So when you talk about the industry is delivering the sustainability, so they are progressing, though there is a huge challenges. Okay. So if you see again, 73% respondent are quite excited seeing the green transition, whatever is talking about, like EV, the transformation on the wind, or so they are quite excited that okay, we can get a good amount of premium on that, but still there are actually challenges with respect to getting good amount of skill or the talented resources. So sustainability goal must focus on these 3 bottoms. So though lot many investment is going on, lot many actually topics are going on, but it's need to do on the social responsibility, what it has came up on the major on the survey, environmental perspective, and also the financial viability. So one of our respondent also commented, we need to deliver on ESG target in a way that maintains profitability as well as economical viable. The relation between the profitability and the principle is doesn't actually, at this moment, is very difficult to actually match. We have an uphill battle when we are talking about sustainability. Major problem we see. So whenever we talk about mining industry, the impression is not as good. Okay, so major news has come up like there is a accident, there is a pollution issues. So retaining new talent or getting new talent is quite difficult. So that is also one topic or one major point has come up. So if you wanted to achieve, or mining industry wanted to achieve the sustainability target, so they need to have talent, and that is quite shortage. So we need to work on that direction also. That is one of the major things came up on this. So focus on technology as well as on the people, technology, and process. So this actually talk about. So ABB actually is geared up to support mining industry on this direction. We recently own the Euromine Safety Award. So this is actually, we provided or basically implemented some kind of robot on the underground mines where the unsafe area is there, and based on that, actually we received a Gold Safety Award. It's a short video on that. So as I said, so one of the major concern whatever received is recruiting or getting the talented workforce. Okay, so if you if industry is recruiting the Gen Z talented, what they are predicting, 40% they will be leaving because of the climate concern, whatever they have the perception. 68% responded see the technology as the driver. The diversity of the new opportunities attract Gen Z talent, widening a bit industry's pool. 72% of executive have reported that their organization have started adopting permanent remote working model, because companies are doing a lot to recruit Gen Z. This one. Also, the training is another aspect came up on the report. So one is recruiting and training, and also when you are doing some kind of sustainability, bringing on electrification, automation, digitization. So whatever existing resources are there, reskilling also one of the things that has came up on the report. So when you're talking about sustainability or going into electrification, automation, or implementing things, so the perception is we need to introduce new technology. The technology is not ready. But the major things, one of the surprise thing came up, that 70% agrees that significant decarbonization possible with existing solution. The solutions are already there, so and it can be possible to meet short-term goal, whatever industry is aspiring for. Okay. So one of the example what we have done in Australia, it's basically the BHP. So they converted their Granny Smith mine, they converted from open pit to underground. So it was very difficult to put the truck to haul the 6 million ton, whatever the production is there. So they discussed with ABB, and we implemented a complete vertical hoist system, and that actually increases productivity as well as without emitting the greenhouse gas emission. So another technology already available in the market, you know that major grinding or any concentrate plant, the grinding unit takes around 40% of total plant. So traditionally we go with RMDs, it's basically a technical terms, but ring geared motors. Instead of going ring geared, actually there is a solutions available with gearless that we can save around 5 to 6% energy, as well as produce much more efficient way to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So these solutions are already available. Yeah. Also, we are doing a lot with respect to inventing or investing in the new technology. So this is a joint venture what we have done, like ABB, Komatsu, and mining company like BHP Bullidan. So for charging the large hauling truck, okay, it's basically with a robot arm around 600 kilowatt per hour. The charger, what we are doing. Let's see its place. Small video on that.
ABB has accelerated the transition to electric mine operations from its inception with eMine. Now, we're extending point-of-charge capability further with a robot automated connection device, the addition to our ABB eMine fast charge solution. This versatile system fully automates the charging process, maximizing uptime with the highest power deliveries while keeping personnel out of harm's way. The powerful interoperable arm and highly accurate vision and sensoric platform can actuate a range of interfaces, ensuring easy connectivity today and tomorrow. The ABB eMine fast charge system thrives in extremes, from arid deserts and high humidity to Arctic lows and deep underground. And ABB's control system is ready to provide visibility across your charging station and fleet. ABB eMine, for your world and mine.
So another thing is came up. It's not only the electrification. We're not talking about any sustainable mine. So the thing actually they are talking about integrating electrification, automation, as well as digitization. Yeah? So role of electrification. This is again came up from the survey. So 91% responded. They say electrifying the existing part that can help their decarbonization strategy. 76% responded. They said electrifying the fleet, major the haul trucks and all, they can meet their sustainability target. And 68% electrify, at least they have a plan, or they have responded like 25% of their fleet by 2030 kind of. So it is still huge potential, or where the mining industry is going toward sustainability perspective. So this is another development or partnership what we are trying to do on the mining industry. It's again Australian company Parenti and IGO with ABB. So we are doing some kind of feasibility study and benchmarking what could be the electrical vehicles for underground mining operation vis-a-vis diesel operated kind of things. So this is also one of the solutions available and advancing quite great with respect to the mining industry. So electrifying, so this is another project what we have done. So this customer, the Copper Mountain in Canada, they have saved their 90% of their carbon emission installing overhead trolley line. So these solutions are already available in the market, and customers are taking a bit actually advantage, meeting their short-term sustainability goal. Yeah. This is maybe else. So again, it's not only the electrification. So when you are talking about, or any mining industry is talking about sustainability, so automation also contributes a good amount of that. Like 50% responded, they said automation, if you are able, there is a huge potential to do with respect to ventilation. Yeah? And the next 5 years, they are trying to invest on automation. So this is another project that what we have delivered in perspective of ventilation on demand. So it's saved around 50% of energy. So what I'm trying to say, so existing whatever solution is there, the short-term short-term goals can be made. So you know that any ventilation of any mines, it around consumes 50% of total energy. On top of that, if you are able to save with 50% of your energy, it's a huge saving with respect to energy as well as the carbon or greenhouse gas emission kind of. So digitization, yeah, another things, it goes hand in hand, electrification, automation and digitization. It's actually connect all your asset, give better visibility from end to end, and also monitoring as well as controlling as well as efficiency purpose is quite helpful. Another project I'll talk about, again, it's at Goldfield in Australia. What we have done with the same existing fleet, we have increased the productivity, connecting the complete the fleet management on underground as well as the operation management system. Yeah, so efficiency can be increased, productivity as well as the safety perspective we can do. So how do you do or how do you mining company achieve their sustainability? So 73% responded believe the mining transformation requires new approach. So that actually, and you know that mining industry is quite conservative. 46% says the risk diversion on the operation is actually is the barrier. That's actually one of the hinder. 40%, 45% are approaching mine decarbonization with an incremental approach. I think that is the right way to do. Put small investment and keep on building upon on that, keeping your long-term sustainability goal. So, any sustainability, when you are talking about, it should not thinking that okay, I need to do alone. So there is a partnership approach and co-creation is going on. Almost almost all companies are doing on that, and that is the right way to go. Yeah. So this is another project what we have delivered. The partnering with Boliden and Epiroc, it's world's first battery-operated electric vehicle that we have implemented or piloted 900 meter at the Boliden mine. So, so this is basically with a overhead trolley. So around 40 ton.
We have a
Epiroc
typical
truck.
haulage route from the Ravlin ore body at 750 meters below ground up to the Kristineberg industrial area. So this heavy, long transport, here it's very hard to
decarbonization there. Another way, so we have implemented couple of projects. So once, again, it's a greenfield project. So originally they thought of going for the truck haulage. Later on they think, okay, let's go trackless mine, including crushing, conveying, on-pit crushing, conveying, and they went completely trackless mine kind of. So on that hand also, maybe some kind of reduction of greenhouse gas can be achieved. This is another project in Chile. So from 13-kilometer conveyor, gearless conveyor we have installed to take that much ore. So they need to have 120 trucks, okay, and that emits around 130 million ton of gasoline. That required 130 million ton of gasoline per year. 70% of carbon emission we reduced. So this is from underground to overpit. So what? Again, I am just repeating. There is a solutions available. You need to open for that with the existing solution itself. Some 2030 or some kind of sustainability goals can be made. Eh? So ABB, when we are talking about, we have a huge experience on mining. More than 1,200 DCS or distributed control system we have delivered. 300 grinding mills we have delivered. 100 plus actually connected via remote services. Okay, more than 25 digital mines globally we have delivered, or we have partnered with various companies. We are investing a lot with respect to minings. More than 300 patents we have, and we are actually open to do any kind of collaboration on this mining industry with respect to sustainability. Yeah. So actually what I presented, it's a short form of the report. I request you to maybe download that report. It is available on our website, and we have I put a QR code. You can scan that and download. It's quite insightful. Actually information is there, what the mining industry is thinking and how they are addressing the challenge for the sustainability kind of things. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with our keynote speaker this afternoon, Mr. Darren Bowden. This is President and CEO of Metals Exploration. Joined the board in January 2019 and is a mining executive with over 25 years experience in building and developing mining projects across Australia and North and South America. Darren has worked across all aspects of the mining business, from mergers and acquisition to technical to operations and executive management. Some of the notable companies for which he has worked include Anglo Coal Australia, Glencore, Nearstar, and Mubadala. Some of the projects in which Darren has also been involved include the Minera San Cristobal, a silver, lead, and zinc project in Bolivia. It's a greenfield project. Prodeco coal project, brownfield. As the Vice President for Operations for Mubadala and as CEO on a large underground gold project, Minesa SA in Bucaramanga. Darren is a civil engineer from the University of Southwest Australia and is focused on driving strategic development and the successful optimization of companies. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about Philippine mining on the brink, Mr. Darren Bowden.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose I'll start by answering the first question on everybody's mind. Yes, that is me, and yes, I really did have hair. Sorry, the photo's so old. I'd also like to thank the people who assisted me in putting this presentation together, Luke, our country manager, and Dickie from FNS, who reviewed it from a legal perspective. I'm going to talk firstly about my company and the company that we operate here in the Philippines. And then I'll move on to what I think is on everybody's mind. The geopolitical situation in this country has changed. We've got a president who is favourable to mining, who's backing the mining industry, but yet we haven't seen the key changes that I think we all require and all want to see so the industry can actually grow and prosper the way that the vision of the president, in the same vision that the president has. So let's talk about that as a second part to this presentation, which is why the presentation's titled Philippines Mining Industry on the Brink. The disclaimer, I'll start talking about metals exploration anyway. Hopefully the presentation will come back to us soon. Metals Exploration is a London-listed gold company. We only operate a single mine here in the Philippines. It's the Runruno mine under FCF Minerals. FCF Minerals has been operating since 2016. When we took over, the current management, FCF was actually bankrupt. End of 2018, 2019, when we first started, we had to go and refinance a $130 million loan. We had to change the technology, well, not change, but develop the technology that was implemented in the plant and make it work. We started, the recoveries at FCF were around the 50% mark. Gold production was under 50,000 ounces, about 45 to 48,000 ounces a year. And the company was on a path to needing to go into insolvency. We took over, we turned it around, and now FCF is a cash generative operation that's providing us with a platform for growing the business here and in overseas countries. We've proven ourselves not just in this country, but as an operator. We've won the President's Award 3 times. We have now a very strong M&A where we've purchased a couple of assets, one within this country, Yamung Minerals, and abroad where we purchased, recently undergone an acquisition of Condor Gold in Nicaragua. And we'll talk through those things as we get there. As my learned friend, previous speaker, ESG is a very critical aspect of anyone's business, and we feel, we believe, and we know we excel in this space. 25 million man hours without an LTI. We've got extremely good community engagement. Our community programs are focused on the right things. There's a lot of people who say community is all about building a hospital. Well, if you don't put beds or doctors in it, it's just an empty building. Community engagement is about real engagement, focusing on what the community really needs and developing their sustainable outcomes beyond the mining industry. And that's where community engagement helps. And that involves children, it involves education, it involves micro industries around and supporting our industry. There's a whole range of frameworks that requires good ESG. And I liken it to safety. 30 years ago, we were all just starting down the path of developing safety standards. And now safety is a mature, key part of everybody's operation. Well, we're at the forefront of ESG in communities. It is absolutely a key requirement in anyone's business, especially the mining industry, when we're in small communities, and we're at the forefront of just starting that. That maturity that we have in safety, we need to build in our community perspectives and how we develop and work with our communities and our partners. So some highlights of metals exploration. As I said, a couple of key acquisitions which I'll talk through. We did nearly 84,000 ounces last year. Very good result for us. Beat guidance. The guidance was 77,000 ounces. Nearly 96 million free cash on a $190 million revenue stream. These numbers are far in excess of what we ever hoped for, and the gold price helps everybody right now, so it does make a big difference for us. However, it's the operation itself and the performance of the operation that has developed those numbers and achieved those goals. We're debt-free. We had $130 million of debt when I started. We've paid nearly $180 million of debt off, and that was all finished Q1 2024, so it only took us 4 years to pay that debt down once we got the operation into a performing mode. And as I've said, 25 million man-hours without a lost time injury, and I think that's nearly 9 years of operation without a lost time injury. Safety award from PMSA last year, as well as the President's Award. So talking about how we had to grow our business. Our first option was to try and grow our business here. We want to expand in country. Why? And I'll give you, I love the Philippines. My wife's Philippine, my kids are Philippine. And the business here has all our IP. Our intellectual property is here. Our people are here. Our opportunity to grow is here. But we've found that, and that's why I'll talk about it, we've found that more difficult than we would like. Time frame is everything in the commercial reality of business, and time frame is something that we struggle with in this industry, in this country. So we had to expand outside. We diversified our risk, and yes, we moved to Nicaragua. And so everyone says, well, how have you diversified your risk? Quite frankly, the operating regime and the regulatory authority in Nicaragua is actually easier than it is here. So that just gives you an idea and a perspective on what you're looking at. The business in Nicaragua, I will talk about that in a little bit more detail, but it will push us up to be producing nearly 150,000 ounces a year. It's construction ready, and we're moving forward very quickly with starting that construction phase of that business. Massive potential. We've 540 square kilometres of exploration and ground tenements in Nicaragua. Currently it's sitting on about 2.4 million ounces at over nearly 4 grams. That's open cut and underground, and the potential there is plus 5 million, even more. It's a very big epithermal tenement system that we will develop over time. We just talked about these numbers. Yeah, we're sitting at about 2.4 million ounces, currently sitting at about 4 grams. So it's a nice property, good grades, and as I said, we're looking at about 1.4 million tonnes a year, 145,000 ounces as a production from both open cut and underground from that project as we go forward. Current NPV on that project sitting, and this is at 2,500 gold, sitting at about 900 million. So the enterprise value of the business should be sitting somewhere around that mark. The project will be fully funded by the cash flow coming out of the Runruno project, and the Runruno project will be finished by the end of 2026. So we need this project up and running to keep our cash flow going. And current target is to have that up and running by the end of 2026. We just signed a deal today, actually, signed it this morning for the purchase of a second-hand plant. And that will be shipped to Nicaragua. It's coming out of Alaska. That'll be shipped in Nicaragua around August, and construction will start pretty soon after that. We're breaking ground sometime in May. Ranruna talked about these numbers. Over 90% recovery is an average now. When we started, it was at 50%. It is an interesting story because it's a technology that not many people use. I think there's about 5 in the world. Biox systems, which is a refractory gold. Basically, it breaks down the sulfides so that you can CIL leach the gold. But it wasn't the actual biox that was failing. It was the flotation system. The non-sulfide gangue would activate before the pyrite, which is quite an interesting scenario, until we got pH up to 8.5. The minute we got the pH over 8, the flotation circuit cleaned up, our recoveries went up, and everything started to work efficiently. So it was a lot of work trying to figure out what was wrong, and luckily I had the right team to do it. So that gives us just a bit of background on metals exploration. And now I suppose I'll get to what everybody may or may not want to hear. And it's something I've got to walk a pretty fine line on how, this is a bit of a hobby horse of mine and how I talk about it, because I can get very emotive, and I want to make sure that there's a positive and a constructive outcome that we talked about today, rather than the one which we, everybody in the back room wants to say, oh my God, why are we doing this? But at this stage, I think there is at least the positive outlook on people trying to move forward and trying to move in the right direction, and we want to discuss that. So how do we know the Philippines is operating badly or well? Well, let's compare it. Let's take a look at a country that we know leads not just itself, but leads the global industry in mining, and that's Australia. If we take a look at the Australian mining industry, mining is based off one thing: exploration. If you don't have an exploration industry, you don't have a mining industry, or you don't have the potential for growth of a mining industry. The Australian mining industry last year, $2.4 billion in exploration alone. That's a 300% growth in 10 years. These are the types of numbers we would love to see here. We have this potential here. We have the resource potential in this country is something I haven't seen. And I've worked in 15 different countries, more than half of them developing countries. So when I talk about this, I talk from a level of experience that not a lot of people have. These numbers are staggering, but it does show you that that's a healthy, growing, developing industry which is driving the economy of that country, and it is. If we look at the Philippines, 37 million last year. 37 million versus 4.2 billion. Does that give you a good idea of the differential we're seeing in the results or the health of the industry? It really does. It shows you that we are in a state where we're not healthy. We're relying on 30 or 40 or 50-year-old deposits that have been known in the industry for that long to drive this industry. That is not how we're going to drive this industry. Exploration is. We need to grow those deposits, not rely on the 3 or 4 that we have, even though they are definitely a positive and a critical aspect of how this economy can grow in the Philippines and how this business can grow. But without exploration, you will never replace those. You will never have a developing industry into the future. And this is a sad indictment of what is going on in the industry here today. We look back before 2006. Back then, these data is actually only based on exploration permits. Back then, they were all issued as MPSAs, so the MPSA data isn't back there. But there was quite a healthy industry before 2006 as well. What changed in 2006? Anybody? IPRA. The law for Indigenous people that come out. And don't get me wrong, I actually fundamentally believe in the requirement. And I fundamentally believe in the need to support and grow our Indigenous communities and all our communities. So I actually think these laws are not just required, but are fundamental to our business and to support our business. It's how we use them and how we implement them that is what we need to focus on. So, why is there growth in one and a dwindling business in the other? Why is Australia working and the Philippines not? In Australia, to get issued an exploration permit actually takes 24 to 48 hours. You can go online, you drop an area over, you can drop some coordinates over an area, and you can submit for an exploration permit. Within 30 to 60 days, it's issued and you can be on the ground drilling. That's how long it takes. In the Philippines, you are at least, if you go by the right process and under the right rules, at least a year to get an EXPA, which is a application permit to Central, to come back. Then it goes to the NCIP, and then the NCIP start their process, and you're 3 to 6 years before you can have an opportunity to start work. And in that meantime, you've got to spend money, you've got to spend time, you've got to put resources in. That is why we don't have a junior mining industry. Who does the exploration in these countries? Who are the people who do that work? The juniors. It's not BHP, it's not Rio Tinto, they don't do that work. It's the junior mining companies. And they go and get funding off markets and from private individuals who want to see results. They can't see results in 3 years or 6 years. So why do you think we don't have an exploration industry? Because of this. These timeframes need to change. If the President's vision for this country, which is an absolute necessity, I believe, for the growth of this industry, but for the Philippines itself, if for it to work, these timeframes have to change. And for it to work, these timeframes have to suit the commercial reality of junior businesses who are the people who will do this exploration. I remember Max, my friend over here, he was telling me about there's a bar called the Handlebar. And every Friday afternoon, 10, 15 years ago, it was packed with junior explorers, all talking about what they were doing and where they are. Guess what? There's not one there now. No one turns up anymore. And that's the issue we've got. This has to change. How do we change it? And what is the real issue? And we talk about another point that was raised in the previous presentation was about perception of the mining industry. Why does the mining industry have a bad perception? Well, yeah, okay, everybody thinks green, okay, but we know mining's essential, and the critical mineral strategy that every country is pushing, the Philippines is pushing as well, is a big part of getting mining to a level where people understand that without it you can't have anything. However, it's about history. It's about the failures of us as an industry. Recently, we failed a tailings dam in this country. That is the perception we need to correct because we need to do better. We need to do it right ourselves. But really, the key issue is on the ground, in the communities, is illegal mining. It is what drives the perception of mining in all of these developing countries. Colombia, 300,000 illegal miners. They had to get the military to start breaking up the illegal mining trade in Colombia. We're seeing the same type of growth in illegal mining here. And why? Because responsible mining can't happen. It takes 6 years just to get an exploration permit. How long does it take to start up an illegal mine? Next day. Why not? I'll go and start. And I'll grow it, and I'll grow it into a big business. And there's some massive illegal mining businesses in this country. But the regulatory authorities need to step up and do something about that as well. However, that is the perception that mining has. It has this history of illegal mining, it has this history of detrimental effects to the environment because there isn't responsible mining. And there isn't responsible mining because the regulatory framework is struggling to get to a position where it's efficient enough to ensure that responsible mining moves forward in this country. And that's the issue we're dealing with. So how do we, stop making, stop having arguments about it, and what do? Well, we have to fix it. We have to find solutions. We can all criticise, but what is the solution? Well, the first solution, I think, and I've got a whole range of them I'd love to talk about, but we'll talk about one today. And the one we need to talk about is the law that came in 2006, IPRA. IPRA in itself is actually not incorrect in the way it's been written, because it's actually based off the Australian Cultural Heritage Native Title Act. A lot of the same fundamentals. And the fundamentals are the rights of the Indigenous people and their cultures to be recognised, and their benefit, economic benefit of their ancestral lands to be able to pass back to them, as well as the companies and the federal government. It's a simple charter. You're recognising the rights of people. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is the way it was implemented and the way it is being implemented. And I think there's something in the law which we can talk about that actually is a mistake. Not the law itself, but the way it was implemented. So what we've got in Australia is you can start exploration very quickly because it has no significant environmental impact. And when it does, you have to go and do something else. But if you can do exploration, drilling, any type of exploration without a significant environmental impact, you can start work in Australia. 30 to 60 days. We don't have to go through a whole process of FPIC. We don't need a certificate of precondition. We need access, so we need the landowner's permission, but landowner can't hold that permission back because you have a right to be there. All of those things are part of the Australian Act, and all those things function because everybody understands them. And I think that's part of the issue. When IPRA was developed, it was a level of, or a lack of understanding of the difference between exploration and mining. The law itself is actually quite fundamentally correct. It has two key sections. It has the benefit of sharing the economic development of a mine, and it has the view, and these are two separate statements, that exploration at an Indigenous level can happen. It's the Indigenous people have the right to comment on the environmental permit and the environmental work associated with that exploration. There is no need under this law to have an economic benefit for the Indigenous people at an exploration stage. The law doesn't state that. It states it for a mining lease, for economic development, but it does not state that it's required for exploration. However, it has been implemented on that basis. So instead of being able to get a comment or an outcome on the environmental impact of the exploration, which is all you need under the law, we go through a 3-year process of seeing how much they can earn, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and actually under the law isn't required. And I suppose our comment here is, if this law was implemented correctly, and can still be implemented correctly, because we don't even have to change the way it's written, we can get to exploration quicker. How do we do that? We look at a two-part solution, which is what the law does. We look at an environmental commentary from the local communities on the work that's going to be done under exploration, and we set a time frame for that, like any commentary that's required under anything. i.e. there's even a process within the MGB that you issue a letter and you put it in all the papers that you're starting you want to do exploration in that area. We add to that the environmental permit, so they've got time to comment. It's the same time frame. We could actually do both of these things as part of the original permitting, and once the comments are back in, the exploration permit and the environmental permit's updated with the comments, it gets cleared by the NCIP, it gets cleared by the MGB, we can issue an exploration permit. Of course, we still need to, as a company, as an industry, seek the permission and the acceptance of our local communities to do the work with them. Of course we do. But we don't need to regulate it. Under the law, we just need to regulate the environmental comments associated with that work. And then part two, of course, if you do find an economic outcome, if you do have a resource which you wish to develop into a producing mine, then you go through the certificate of precondition, the SCIP process, which absolutely I believe in. And you have the time. You know, you're talking years of engineering, you're talking years of drilling, you're talking time that you have to work with the communities, they get to know you, you get to know them, and those permits can be developed over the same time frame. So it can be done in parallel. So there's no loss in time in issuing an MPSA or an FTAA because they can be done at the same time. So our thought is that what we need as an industry is to discuss this more. We don't need to change the legal framework that exists today. We just need to implement it correctly. It does follow a similar process to the Australian laws, and Australia got it right. Again, were they more mature? Was there more understanding of what the mining industry looks like? Yes, yes, and yes. And we need to grow into that. We need to get that maturity, not just in ourselves, but in our regulatory frameworks, in our people, the bureaucracy who issue and work those regulatory frameworks. We need to bring confidence back into this industry if we're going to follow the President's vision. And this is one way to do it. We need those junior companies back here working for us. We need to go to the monthly meeting at the PEMA and everybody's happy again because we can see that exploration's happening. We need to talk about those leases that we all want to see, those new discoveries, not the 30-year-old deposits that we all know about. That's what we need. I've got a whole range of other things I'd like to talk about, guys, but I'll leave it at that because that's the big one for me. And it was discussed 2 weeks ago, and there is an idea that this can happen, but we need to move it forward. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Darren. So that's very emotional. Not too emotional, but may I call Dharamdev on the stage? We opened the table for discussions, but as MC, it's also my privilege to have the first question.
For me?
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations also, Dharamdev, for winning the 2024 Euro Awards on safety. I did not realize that ABB did not have a mining division in the Philippines, so maybe you might be here when all these things go. And Darren, just like to comment, Runruno is now a first class, or Quezon is now a first class municipality, effective January 2025. So, and this is all a lot because of FCF. You've raised the economic status of the province. You've grown, most of your employees are 95, 98% local. And you have a very supportive mayor. No? And I'm also would like to announce that, not really announce, but we actually just signed an MOA with our host community up north. And a lot of the positive effect was when we brought the municipal council to Runruno, and they saw the actual operations, saw the water was really clean, and the local mayor, she talked about the benefits and the whole barangay. So, and it's a big factor for us to get our consent. So thank you for that. Okay. Dharamdev. So everybody is now talking about decarbonization, and what do you think would be the existing that we can address these concerns, no? According to your study?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, okay, first of all, I'll go to your first statement. We don't have mining division over here, but we have ABB office over here. So we are exploring or trying to find out how we can expand to the mining, opening the mining division as well. So yeah, near future definitely we'll do that when the market a bit matures. Now, okay, so you're coming to your questions that you said, how do you see the major barriers on the decarbonization on the mining industry? So I was trying to present that, okay, we have our own understanding, but based on the survey feedback, what we received. So basically, there are three major obstruction or barriers what the respondents are given. One, as is major, is the investment. So if you wanted to introduce a new technology, it's actually needs a whole lot of investment and ROI, all these things. Actually, that is a major barrier. Second is the infrastructure, whatever we have present. If you wanted to do the complete electrification, going from the mechanical or traditional mining, actually complete mindsets, infrastructure need complete overhauling. That also is big obstacle. And third is the market commodity, the volatility. So these things are the major response what we got, or major feedback we got from the survey. But one more thing, what I was trying to I say that the people who will drive the decarbonization and the mining industry is lacking globally a lot. So these are the four major things. If we try to address, maybe something we can do on that.
Okay, thank you. Darren, I know that when you came here, FCF was, I know because that's also my stomping grounds before, and it took a long time to go to the area, 4 or 5 hours. So, what specifically did you do to turn around FCF? No? You're in the brink of bankruptcy. Your production figures were really quite low, and basically it could really be bankrupt in a few years. So what specifically did you do so that to turn around and to be debt free right now?
So there's, it's actually a story I tell quite often. So thanks for asking. I brought in first the team that I trusted, and one of the key guys I brought in, his name's Xiaofeng Zhang. He's a PhD. He's a doctorate in metallurgy. One of the smartest guys I know. And him and I spent weeks in the laboratory so we basically set up a little metallurgical laboratory. We spent weeks in the laboratory trying to figure out what was wrong. And we looked at the way the ore floated. We looked at how the different types of ore, and nothing we did in the laboratory said that it shouldn't work in the main plant. It worked. Yet when you went to the main plant, all this non-sulfide gangue was activating prior to pyrite, and you don't see that. That's just not normal. So we gave up in the laboratory. We walked out to the main plant, and there was only two options. And we knew we were losing all the gold in flotation. We'd done all the work, all the data. We'd rehashed all the data, figured out where we were losing the gold. And we walked out in the main plant, and I said to the plant manager, I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make this a big chemistry set, and we're going to start trialling in the plant itself, because we've got no choice. So what we did is we said, okay, we need to change the pH of the float system. We need to go down to a pH of 4, 4.5, 5 to see if that affects the float, and then we need to go up. And he said, well, it's going to be easier to go up because we've got the lime on site rather than using an acid, which is going to be harder to deal with. I said, great, well, let's start with taking the pH up. We took the pH up. The minute the pH went from pH neutral, and neutral was around about 6.8 to 7.2, we took it up over 8, you got a perfect pyrite float. So the non-sulfide gangue was suppressed at a higher pH. It's something we couldn't replicate in the lab, but we could replicate in the plant. The minute we did that, we could go back to the original chemical mix or reagent mix that was supposed to be used for the flotation, because the new chemical mix or new reagent mix was killing biox. So we had all these, so the reagents we were using were killing the bugs, and the bugs then couldn't process the ore that was going through. So we were able to go back to original reagent. We got flotation up to 88, now 92, 93% recovery. And then biox, because we went back to the reagents that function with biox, we actually got the bugs to perform as well. We had small tweaks along the way, but they were the two biggest issues. It was the pH in flotation and the type of reagents that were being used. We did some work on the mine. The mine's a very efficient little mine now. We've never had to increase the number of trucks because we've gone for a backfill mine. So we progressed the mining face and backfill pit, which gives us a developing rehab, continuous rehab as we go. So we get to end mine life, and the pit and the project's about 90% rehabilitated. Joey, we've won most of the forestry awards for that as well. Leo, who helped us do that's here today. And it was a cultural change as well within the team, where we focused on behavioural safety. There's a lot of these big companies that talk about safety, and they talk about it as paperwork. Safety's not paperwork. Paperwork is to support safety. Safety is about culture and behaviour, and that starts with me and my management team, not the safety officer. And once you start thinking like that, you can change the perception and the way people think about safety and work. They're the things we worked on.
Just one more thing. What happens to your moly? I mean, that's a gold moly plant, right? That's a gold moly mine. So It's still sitting on your tailing source.
It is. It's very good. A very good question. No, they never actually implemented a moly circuit. They never designed it. They never put a circuit in for moly. So moly was just put into tails. Now, is there enough moly in the ore to actually produce moly? Probably not at the type of tonnages we've got. So economically, it wouldn't have worked anyway. But no, there was never a moly circuit, even though it's a gold moly project.
Okay, that's my geology stat. So anyway, I'll open the floor now for questions. Please state your name and affiliation and to whom you're directing the question. Tata from the Australian Embassy.
Hello. Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Darren. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tata from the Australian Embassy. And just a comment and maybe a question after that comment. Thank you very much for a good presentation on comparing Australian mining with Philippine mining. I'd like to borrow your slides, if I may. Makes my life easy to to promote Australian mining capability.
You have a new ambassador coming in July, so I know where you're coming from.
My question is, I'd like to, I was surprised when you said that the regulations in Nicaragua are less challenging than that of Philippines. Can you give some specifics?
Yeah, so the regulatory authority and the laws are very similar. Actually, there's not a country, a developing country or a first world country that I've been to where the laws aren't very similar, because we've all based them off the same type of framework. So it's not about the law itself, it's about how the bureaucracy and the, let's say, the leadership of that country views mining and is willing to push mining. So where you go to Nicaragua right now, the current president, Ortega, he is absolutely using mining as one of his economic drivers for the country. Okay? And because of that, he has told everybody down that chain that they will ensure that the foreign direct investment for mining does happen and that the regulatory authorities will issue licensing based on the outcomes of the work, but they will do it quickly. So it took the leadership at the top to drive that change. I saw the same thing in Colombia. President Uribe, he used the words, every speech he gave was, development is driven by foreign direct investment, development is driven by, he used those words. He drove that change in his bureaucracy so that licensing could function there as well. He took the Colombian peso from 3,500 pesos per dollar to 1,800 in 3 years. He strengthened that dollar by over, 100%, purely and simply by bringing foreign direct investment and allowing the economic benefits for mining to drive his economy. That's what's happening in Nicaragua. And for me, we could have that here too. If we were allowed, and if the discussion that the president's having at a geopolitical level, which is positive for mining, was pushed down the chain, was driven to the people who are actually implementing those laws, then I think we could see that change here too.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it does. Just last question. Our president had expressly said he will support mining, and our DNR has been working hard to bring positive developments in the industry. Where do you think do we go wrong when the leadership, when the top there is very much supportive of mining?
Yeah, a very interesting question. I think that there is requirements in the process where there's time frames, but they're never met. And I think there's a Senate hearing today about MPSAs that are being held over too long and they need to be released and there's a release time frame. Well, I'll flip that coin. Let's get the regulatory authorities to meet their own time frames so that licensing can be issued in a valid time frame as well. There is those timeframes in the mining code, not in the IPRA code, which there needs to be as well. Okay, so I think there's both sides of that. I think that while there's a talk about it, And there is definitely some action. We're not seeing that yet at a ground level, at a grassroots level. And I think that's the issue. Hopefully that change is positive and quick, because it needs to be. As I say, this industry is at the cusp of going forward or backwards. You know, in 10 years it might just be the Tampak and the Kin, and that's it. Every other mine will be gone, and the industry will not flourish if we don't take those steps that we need to take now. So I believe there is a positivity around it. I absolutely see that, but we haven't seen the grassroots changes yet. Look.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that. Darren has also always mentioned illegal miners and the IPRA law. No? The problem in the Philippines is there's a disconnect. The NCIP and the DNR are under different authorities, so there's a line. So they do not cross each other, or they don't meet halfway. So that's a problem. In Nicaragua, if I may, the government allows 1% of your tenement to be given to small-scale miners, but you have to be able to choose which area in your tenement you're giving to them. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the illegal miners we have in Nicaragua, the government has absolutely walked in and said to them, you will be leaving, but company will work with you to where you go. So we have a mandate that they know they've got to leave, and we know where we've got to put them, and we've got to work on that. So, and I think that type of structure here would work very well as well. We had, at Runruno, it took us 3 to 5 years, nearly the whole time I was here and before, to remove 1,500 illegal miners that were on the back end of our tenement. They'd basically taken it over. And the support from the authorities was very difficult. You know, a cease and desist order, that's what we got, a bit of paper. You know, and it took us over a year, nearly 18 months, to actually get the authorities to support our requirements to move those people. Now, how did we do it? We helped them. We moved their structures. We paid for their structures. We paid for them to move. We gave them money. It was a cost, which I don't have an issue with, because people need a livelihood. And if we can support that livelihood in the framework of having them, you know, relocated, then I'm all for it. But we need the support of the authorities before that happened, and that took a lot of effort to get that support.
Okay. Any other questions from the floor? The one at the back.
My question is easy.
You did.
So given FCF's expertise, I'm curious about your insights on the presence of gold within laterite ore deposits in the Philippines. And have you come across any notable intersections in the MPSA covered areas? And do you see potential for economic extraction alongside nickel operations?
I think that's probably a question for you, Joey.
That's a different geology. So you laterite, you're more talking about, Rundo is it's a gold, copper gold deposit. Laterite should be in ultramafic terrain. So that's different geology, and I don't think it would be, unless you have something really a very good geology or event that would make it. But I have not seen any nickel development in a gold, copper gold operation.
We do see a lot of magnetite, so you'll get magnetite with gold deposits, and you know, copper gold will have other elements, but I haven't ever seen nickel.
The reason why I ask, because there are deposits in Palawan, South Palawan in particular, that has nickel laterite with a little bit of gold in it, but no one really explored in that area.
I'm not sure. In South Palawan, so that would be Nickel Asia. I think they sell their ore out to Coral Bay. They have a HPAL plant, but I'm not sure. Maybe let's ask Max. Jonathan. It's probably there are probably tight veins that may have some gold, but it may not be economic to mine if you have a laterite deposition. Laterite is really soil, and you know.
Yeah, thank you. Anthony Cheddars from Asenco. Darren, I got one for you. It's good to see that BIOX actually wasn't the problem in this case. Obviously, it gets a pretty bad rap, but knowing that Runruno is coming to an end in 2027 and that you've had lower recoveries in the past, have you considered tails reprocessing?
Yeah, interesting question. Our tailing stem is very, it's a subaqueous tail, so it's a wet tail. The issue is the gold or the tails that is actually carrying the gold is at the bottom. So the cost to reprocess is really not there. It's a very narrow dam. It's 150, 200 meters deep to get to the bottom of that. So the answer is people have looked at it, but we're not interested. It doesn't seem to make economic sense because of the amount of volume you'll have to move just to get to what is actually got carrying gold. And rightly you say, we're actually mining about 1.3 grams. The bottom of that tailing stem's carrying 1 gram. So it definitely could be if you could get at it, but no, it's not an easy one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Luke Bowden, FCF Minerals. Very interested in the solution that Darren put forward, Joey. So what would be sort of the next steps as an industry group? How do we sort of progress something like this and drive for change?
I'm only the MC, but I can answer that. I've
Darren
talked with the
can please
DNR
pitch
for
in.
some time, and I think there should be one, as what Darren has said, there should be no FPIC for exploration stage. No? You allow it to explore. Maybe you could have just a simple agreement with the host community, and that's it. And you only have your FPIC either when you're preparing your declaration of mining project feasibility or converting your EP into an MPSA. That would be my insights on that.
No, look, I agree completely. And I suppose that's the way we see the law as written. The issue is how do we get the industry to change? Look, I've asked FNS to actually write a position paper on this. We want to submit that position paper to the presidency because it's probably through the mining chamber, I think is the right vehicle to do that. Because right now the NCIP report to the Office of the Presidency. And if we can get them to understand this is how to make that step change by just implementing the law correctly, which, as I say, it was probably an immaturity in that department. It just started up. Well, what do? Well, let's implement the same thing everywhere. There was probably an immaturity in how, and an ignorance of what mining and exploration are and how different they are, even though the law covered it correctly. So I think explaining that and pushing that engagement, for me, through the chamber at the presidency level so they can make the change is probably the right way to go. That's the only way we'll get it done quickly. I also think there needs to be more collaboration between DENR and NCIP. Absolutely has to be. As Joey said, they're overlapping laws, but they don't talk.
Yeah, just also, we need a champion for the industry. Somebody, like a figure to say, we want this, cut all the red tape or cut all the departments and say, we're going to do this. So we need a champion for the industry and which can have directly to the president and let's do it, something like that.
Thanks.
I'm not the speaker anyway, so please direct your questions to these two guys.
Sure, Joey?
Not geology related, sir. Actually, this is supposed to be a respectful interjection with our colleague from the Australian Embassy with her pronunciation that the president and the DNR is in same direction because the president is always telling, especially during his SONA, that the Philippines, the mining sector of the Philippines is our portaner for the economic recovery. But DNR is doing otherwise by issuing this just June 2, 2023, DNR DAO 2023-6, which Section 6 of that particular memorandum says that there is, what do we call this, requirement for ECC for this exploration activities. That's why it's not cutting red tapes, it's just prolonging the agonies of these exploration companies like ours. Any comment, Sir?
Yeah,
Darren?
look, I agree completely. I think we're taking one step forward, 2 steps back every time. Even recently, there's a presidential decree which came out in 2012, I believe, which was an ATVM, which was actually, for mine, was issued so that exploration activities could start up in parallel to the FCIP process for an exploration lease. An ATVM is an approval to verify mineral resources. Okay, that was a decree in 2012. Only 4 weeks ago, the MGB issued a memo stating that we needed the FCIP process to have an ATVM, which goes completely against the presidential decree of 2012. So we actually took a step backwards rather than actually sitting there saying, okay, here's something we could use that allows us to start the process of exploration while we're going through this long-winded process of approvals. And yet now it's actually not even worth the paper it's printed on, because you actually need the same requirement as you do for an exploration permit. So you're right, we're taking steps forward, but we're taking steps back, and I think we all need to think about that.
Yeah, better just wait for your EP to be approved, right?
You same real.
To me add, that DAO on ECC for exploration, the PMA, or the Philippine Mining and Exploration Association, has actively lobbied against it, and it's now being withheld, sort of withdrawn, not yet officially, but that's not going to be implemented. We've made, together with the Chamber of Mines, our position paper that this should not happen. The mining law specific states that exploration is not, it does not require an ECC. So department order of the DNR cannot supersede the national law, which is the Mining Act. And second, that's an executive order which in 2012, which issued the ATV, Authority to Verify Minerals, and that was supposed to be like a prospecting permit, because EP takes quite a long time, and so while waiting for your EP, you can do some sampling, some work in your ground, and if you find something significant, then you proceed to wait for your EP approval. If none, then you must just withdraw your EP because there's nothing there.
Exactly, and I suppose one of the issues I have with the Mining Act, the way it's written today, is there's no allowance within the Act for prospecting. Prospecting is it's a right, especially because you're surface. The surface rights are owned by the landowner, and walking his land with his approval to pick up a rock is actually illegal in this country. And that for me has no logic, because how do you peg a tenement? What, get a dart, close your eyes, throw it? Because that's the only way to do it these days. Unless there's historical information that's 40 years old, you have no right to get with a landowner, with his approval, to pick up a rock. It just makes no sense. But to change that, we have to change the Mining Act. And that takes a lot longer than actually just making sure the ones we have are implemented correctly.
Okay, other questions?
Sorry, I'm not in the media, but I'm just curious. So how does the company navigate partnerships with I'm talking about the NCIP, sustainability efforts and compliance? And additionally, has FCF been involved in any lobbying efforts to shape policies that support both responsible mining and indigenous rights?
We haven't done any lobbying, but we are just about to start. Let's be very clear, and I think the mining industry itself is already moving and motivated in that direction itself. For us, the basis of doing things responsibly is about policy, and then implementing that policy. We have child labour policies which actually extend beyond our company. There is an industry-wide push under ESG to ensure that those policies that you have, and as my learned friend here spoke about, companies are recognising the need, and the shareholders are recognising the need for those things to move forward. So as an international company, we come under so many international laws that we have to abide by, and all of those require policy and implementation, and effective implementation of policy. That's engagement with communities, it's value adding to communities, it's Foreign Corrupt Practices Acts, it's anti-bribery acts. Those things are extremely difficult to navigate in this country. Extremely difficult. At all levels of government, it is an absolute struggle to work within the laws that we have to work in a country like the Philippines. but we have to do it through relationships, like the one we have with Joey and Pima. We have to do it with the right people to take the right step forward and to get these policies to work and to work under the international laws. You have to be the one to take the first step. You have to be the one to say no and try and do it the right way. And guess what? That takes an inordinate amount of extra time. But you have to do it.
I just add, FCF was one of the first companies to voluntarily go under TSM. TSM is towards sustainable mining. It's a Canadian initiative. It's beyond compliance, and I have personally validated FCF on its TSM compliance. One of the first companies last year to undertake that. And second, the government is now implementing their SDMP, that's a Social Development Management Program for those in mining operations, to integrate SDG, the Social Development Goals of the UN, in the SDMP of these companies. So the MGB will be rolling out 3 meetings, one in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, so that these companies can help, they can help the companies integrate the matrix or the policies on integrating SDG. I think it's only about 15 or of the 17 which the mining industry can support. So that will be integrated into your SDMP. Again, I'm not a speaker, so please direct your questions to these two gentlemen.
Thank you. Really interesting speeches. Maybe just a quick one. Your topic, Darren, mining on the brink. How long do you think we have on the brink before something needs to change?
Look, we've been there for 10 years now. So, but you can see the dwindling effort and investment that is going into mining. It is going down. We see the number of junior companies operating in the Philippines has disappeared. So I think right now, with the current geopolitical outlook for mining in the Philippines, it's the right time to make these changes, because the next president may have a different view, and that could hurt even more. So I think right now, if we don't make the changes now, I think we are going to fail to make the changes for the future. I don't think we've got long. I think we've got this presidency to use the motivation that he's bringing to make this change.
Thank you.
Actually, this is not a question, but a form of a sharing in terms of, because I was formerly with a mining company and now I'm happily engaged with GHD. So basically in terms of about the FPIC, the acquisition of the CP or the process of FPIC, actually it's doable that you can negotiate for the whole operation of the project, because we did it for the mining project, the Far Southeast Gold Company, wherein they were able to negotiate the FPIC approval from the exploration to the operation phase. It's just a matter of how you negotiate with the community and with the NCIP. And good thing that we had a team who's working on that, and she actually also can do that for you. Sorry.
Yeah, we just got ours from exploration to decommissioning, so it can be done.
Yes, can be
and
done.
For if we had for Far Southeast,
Yeah,
you sign an MOA, but it was only on the ground, and it was never endorsed, so it was not really processed because they just signed it on the ground, and I think they want to pay about 1 million pesos per barangay as part of your development plan. But if you're in the exploration stage, who wants to pay 1 million pesos per barangay? So this is what Darren was saying. There's no the economic benefit. So maybe you could put in we'll provide you preferential employment. We'll give you the accredited contractors that are qualified to do all these things.
And just renegotiate in terms of if you proceed with the next stage. You just renegotiate because you already have, at least when you have the operation phase, you already have at least how much amount you'll be getting, and that could be for renegotiation again, because according to the law, there is a certain percentage wherein you have to share the royalty. So
yeah, that's 1% of your gross. And our negotiation said we can provide an advance on their royalty but only when we are in the construction stage. So that's pretty sure that we're getting to mine.
And look, it wasn't about the fact that the process can't happen. It's a commercial reality of time is the issue we have, not that the process can't happen.
Another from GHD. Manny, how much have you paid for this? That's all your stuff.
Hello.
Answering the questions. Asking questions.
My name is Jay from JC. I think, this is mostly, I will be asking more about the direction of our business industry. I think Sir Darren, about the proposed bill of our government, which is 2826, which prohibits the export of raw minerals, in which they plan to take around 5 years later, right? How do you think our industry, such as like you guys, will be affected of this? Do you think the 5-year plan is sufficient enough for this?
I don't think it would matter for them because it's for raw ore. Exactly. And it's the FCIP's processing. This would mostly affect nickel mines. And I think there's a bicameral meeting, and probably they want to extend that to 7 years or more than the 5 years. But I was in a meeting with Secretary Go, and they were saying that they would support that as long as you have all the other government agencies saying that it's doable, that it can be done. Like maybe your power may be cheaper. I mean, all of this have to come into lining up your ducks, and then everything can be done. But 5 years, you're gonna kill the nickel industry. Don't quote me on that.
That's the same comment, I suppose, 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Did you ever consider producing gold concentrate from the refractory ore at Runruno?
We actually do produce a small gold concentrate. One of the things we found when we first did the initial analysis was that the gravity gold that was being produced, we were only getting in the range of 80% efficiency in the gravity circuit. And because that's a very intense cyanide leach, they were then taking the residual from that and putting it back in the float circuit. Well, anyone who knows metallurgy know that guess how to suppress pyrite, put cyanide in the circuit. So what they were doing is they were crashing the float circuit every time they put that back into the... So what we did is we took that residual and we tabled it. We threw it over a table. We pulled all the gold out of that and produced a small concentrate. That cost us the little circuit where we cost us $20,000 to set that circuit up. It made us $4 million a year just on that alone, and increased recovery by 1.2%. So yes, we do. As a whole, though, the grade of our ore is so low that the flotation concentrate we produce is about 11 to 12 grams. Now, in the market, that's not a very saleable concentrate. Okay, you need to be, so the gravity concentrate we produce, which we sell, is 300 grams, but our flotation concentrate is 12. There's not much of a market for that, and the payment on recovery would be significantly lower than what we achieve now. So the answer is you probably could sell it, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
You can make a deal under the Nicaragua operations.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll chat later.
Darren, I'll ask a hard question. Your ore runs out in Runruno in 2026. Assuming you don't get production from Dupax or Abra, what happens to your plant?
Yeah, it's a good point. I've got a whole range of decision trees I talk to the board about pretty well every time we get together. We'll have to do M&A. We'll have to go overseas. That plant's barely 10 years old. It can be used again. I know at least 3 ore bodies in the world where it would actually function perfectly. I would love to keep it in the Philippines. I'd like to keep my resources, my people in the Philippines. But with the time frames that are set by the current regulatory authorities, that's going to be extremely difficult. We hope, we wish, we work to keep our assets here and the money we make here in this country. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to make commercial decisions that are a reality for us and move if we have to. So at this stage, the answer is we're working towards keeping it here. But if that doesn't happen, we've also got plan B.
Yeah, you have to keep your bugs happy, you know.
Yes, sorry, I just got another one here for you. One of the other, my limited experience here, one of the other key issues that I'm seeing both from an exploration phase and an MPSA, and I think there might be a Senate inquiry on the moment, is land banking. Seeing these junior companies take up great swathes of land and not spending a cent for 10, 15 years. What can we do about that?
I fully agree with you. I think we should be able to identify all of these non-performing MPSAs or EPs, give them a reasonable time frame, and just cancel it. And if they file legal action, then we can have to reply, well, the MGB or DNR has to reply to that, but at least take the first step.
So my understanding, Joe, there is a use it or lose it clause in the legislation, once again, just not being implemented.
There's been a lot of laws that have been there and not implemented. You're putting me on the line, look, so...
I was actually talking to Darren that one. I didn't say your name, but no, it's okay.
I think we have to wrap it up, so thank you, gentlemen, for a very good talk. So we may ask Dharamdev to have a few words before we close the forum this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what I am hearing about here, so going or doing sustainable mining or doing large amount of electrification, automation is not the right stage at this moment in Philippines. So what I think, like Darren talk about the flotation. So go is a small implementation kind of any automation or digitization to get the recovery a bit better. Like whatever you are doing, maybe make 1%, 2% up. I also understand there are many underground mines, so it's require huge ventilation. Go whatever existing infrastructure is there, put some kind of advanced automation on top of that. ROI will be very quick enough, 3 months to 5 months. So if it is 50% up to some mines, we have saved up to 50% energy saving on the ventilation kind of thing. So those kind of I'll recommend in Philippines, go small pockets where you see the immediate ROI kind of things, and then keeping in the long-term view kind of things. Not a big step at this moment.
Darren?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone for listening. A bit of a hobby horse, so I do believe in the Philippines. I love the people, and I just hope our industry can grow because I'd love to see it.
Okay, that's a wrap, gentlemen, ladies. Joanne, may I stage a token of appreciation for our speakers.